day and night. I toss and turn, I keep stressing my mind.
Hey, what is up, guys? Victor here with yet a brand new video, and this time I want to talk about another fight on that 249 card that occurred yesterday. And man, that card was a banger. It was one of the best cards, if not the best card I had ever seen in the history of UFC, and also in the history of MMA at the same time. And the fight I really want to talk about right now is Vincente Luque versus Niko Price 2. Man, I could not keep my eyes off that fight. I knew it was going to be a banger before, and I wasn't surprised after everything that went down during that fight. It was a shame that Niko couldn't continue just because of his one eye being completely swollen to the point where he couldn't even see out of it. That's one thing, guys. If you're fighting and you receive a swollen eye just because of all the damage that fighter had been taken during the duration of that certain fight, if the eye swells up to the point where you cannot see out of it, then the doctor is going to have to step in and stop the fight, just because it's extremely dangerous for the fighter to keep on continuing. A lot of fighters wouldn't be able to even fight with one eye, being able to see just through one of those. But this fight, it was a banger through the very first round all the way to the third round as well. I liked how Luque came out with the leg kicks and is working some pretty good combinations as well. And really, those leg kicks really hurt Niko Price a lot. You can tell when leg kicks really bother a fighter when they switch stances. And Niko ended up switching stance a couple of times during that fight. And then Niko ended up coming back the following round and hitting Luque with a couple of leg strikes as well, which caused Luque to switch stances. So there were a lot of leg kicks that were being thrown during this fight, and Niko even threw a crescent kick, which is very rare in a couple of fights as well. But these guys, they were throwing hooks, they were throwing knees, they were throwing leg kicks, they were throwing everything, they were throwing elbows, they were even throwing the kitchen sink, for crying out loud. This fight was amazing, and the first round was really close. Both guys were really hitting each other extremely hard, especially with those strikes, mainly with the jabs and the hooks that they were throwing. During the end of round one, at the very last second, Luque ended up hitting Price with a nasty hook that rocked him. Price ended up wobbling back to his corner. He gathered himself back up for the second round, and he had a strong second round, but he ended up getting he ended up getting battered as well. But he ended up coming back and really giving it to Luque, and he ended up almost getting a submission during the fight as well. He had Luque down because he hit him with a knee, and as soon as he got Luque down, he had a Darce choke connected on Luque. Now, if you all know, this isn't the first time that both these fighters are actually fighting one another. The last time they fought was a couple years back, and Luque had submitted Niko Price with the Darce choke. So, if Niko Price would have submitted Luque with the Darce choke, the same Darce choke that he lost to Luque with a couple years back, that would have been crazy. He had it in there pretty well, but he let it go and tried getting it back. But when you get those opportunities inside to let them go, they're not very easy to come by once again. But during that third round, both fighters were exchanging, and I thought that Niko was winning that third round because the first two rounds were really close. These guys are really going back and forth with one another. And I did give Luque a little bit of the upper edge just because he was buckling Niko with a lot of those leg kicks, and it really hurt Niko at the same time. And Luque, when it looked like he was getting in trouble with a lot of the pressure that Niko was throwing his way, he ended up throwing a left hook that just knocked Niko down. I thought the referee was going to step in there and call the fight, but he decided not to and let them go. Luque ended up letting Niko step back up, and they continued the fight until the doctor actually until the referee stopped the fight. The referee was Jason Herzog, one of the best in the business. When he stops the fight, he does it for a good reason, and this was for a good reason. Stopped the fight, got the doctor in there, had the doctor check out Niko Price's eye, which was extremely swollen. I think it was purple or black. That's how bad it was. And Niko was still going, man. Niko was hurt a couple of times during that fight. mostly just because of eating a lot of the shots. And that's the thing with both of these guys as well. As fighters, they like to stand and bang a whole lot. They're literally walking punching bags. They're willing to absorb a lot of damage. Basically, such as the same way that a sponge absorbs a lot of water, a punching bag absorbs a lot of strikes, punches, kicks, elbows, etc. Both these guys were eating all of those, and it was just insane. That's how amazing of a fight it was, and I'm sad to see that Niko Price couldn't continue just because of how swollen that eye was and a doctor stopping the fight. My cousin actually texted me and asked me who brought the UFC 244 doctor in to stop that fight. If you guys don't know who the UFC 244 doctor is, it's the doctor that stopped the Nate Diaz Masvidal fight because of the cut that Nate Diaz had on the bottom of one of his eyes on his cheek. And to be honest, that actually, no, it wasn't on his cheek. It's actually in the eyebrow area, and it was a very nasty one. So I actually agreed with that stoppage, and I can agree with this one as well. If your eye's swollen to the point where you can't see out of it no more, you can't go. It's extremely dangerous to even fight with one eye, just because you want to be able to see the strikes that are coming on one of the sides, making it a significant and huge disadvantage. But I just gotta give my my bravo to both of those guys for sticking in there. I loved all the combinations that they were throwing, and I loved all the shots that they were throwing as well. They were extremely active. They were pushing an extremely high pace at the same time. That's how you know that both these men are in extreme cardio condition. They have really good cardio, and they can really push a high pace. And if you guys remember, both of these men took this fight on short notice. As a lot of the fighters on that UFC 249 card, a lot of them took the fight on short notice, basically 2 or 3 weeks short notice, and they were all really they all competed very, very well. So once again, bravo to the UFC, and I completely thank all the fighters on there just for fighting and giving us all the show that we really wanted. It's been 2 months since a lot of us have even had the type of entertainment that we received last night, and if you didn't like the entertainment last night, I don't know what can even entertain you anymore, because those fights were just mind-blowing. And I haven't looked at the rewards for the fights last night, but if Niko Price and Vincente Luque didn't get that fight of the night, that'd be insane. I know basically the front runner for the fight of the night was Ferguson versus Gaethje, but come on, man. I think that fight between Niko Price and Vincente Luque was awesome, man. If these guys want to do a third fight for a trilogy, I know Niko Price lost 2 of them, but he could have possibly came back for those couple last moments in the third round and pulled something off. The guy might be wacky, but he might be crazy, but he's one of the most creative finishers that the UFC has ever seen. He KO'd a guy via up kicks, and he KO'd a guy on his back using hammer fists. So anything could have happened if the fight hadn't been stopped. There was at least a minute left. Niko was still trying to go, but at the end of the day, the doctor stopped it for his own good. But all in all, it was an amazing fight, one of the best fights on the card. If it wasn't the absolute best, and it definitely was the second best. But appreciate you guys for watching this video. Hopefully we can be able to see some fights that are as good as that one, either this coming Wednesday or this coming Saturday. I don't have the times for the fight on Wednesday, but I do know about for the East Coast, the main card is going to start at 9, and I do believe that the main card is going to start at 9 next Saturday, again on the East Coast as well. So I know about that, but in my next video, I'll do some research before, and I'll give you guys the information for the East Coast and the West Coast. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Stay safe and stay blessed.